Nicola. Happy weekend. Today's trending story is about the new edition story. I know you all were breaking your necks to get home to watch that.
No, I was.
Now, I do admit that I didn't get a chance to see it, but what everyone told me that I spoke with, they talked about the contract. And so, that's really near to my heart because in my lifetime, I have made mistakes signing contracts. And so I really want to talk about this subject with you. Today's guest is Debra Gipson of Gipson Legal and Consulting, LLC. And we have rapper Reezy, Cleveland's own group.
From CGS.
CGS. Welcome. Thank you for coming on to the BeYoutiful Hour.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nicola. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Did you all get to see the new edition story?
I saw it.
I know you saw it. So, everybody was saying, they were played, in the contract, and it kind of reminded me of some other stories that came out where rappers were played, TLC, and the Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, Straight Outta Compton. The whole Jerry Heller situation.
Yeah, so, this is a serious subject. No matter what industry you're in, if you're in business, if you're in the process of signing any type of legal, well not signing, but entering into an agreement legally with someone, you want to get a contract. But not only do you want to get a contract, you want to make sure that it's the best agreement for you.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, Debra, what's the purpose for a contract?
So the purpose of a contract is so that the two parties can agree, sit down, come to terms, agree to exactly what it is they want, to make sure that, let's say it's you and I entering into a contract, to make sure that you get exactly what you want and that I get exactly what I want.
Right. So now, what about, it's almost like a marriage when you talk about contracts. So it's the honeymoon and then it's the
divorce. And so what I like to tell my clients, and thank you for bringing it up, what I like to tell my clients is that it's really important to negotiate the contract as if you are in the divorce and not as if you are in the honeymoon period. And the reason that makes a difference is because there have been times where people have thought, oh, I'm getting exactly what it is I want from this contract. This is the best contract ever. Only to have something go awry in the relationship between the two parties and to have those parties go their separate ways, and then you discover, uh-oh, maybe I shouldn't have put my signature on this because this wasn't in my best interest.
Right. So, Reezy, in the industry, the music industry or entertainment business, you all really have to make sure your best interest is within that contract.
Yes, and understanding that we understand what's expected of us, and we have legal representation, because as an artist, you don't want to sign your name to just anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's going to be pros and cons that artists going to need to follow in that contract. So it's all about being aware and having full understanding of what it is you're signing and what's expected of you. Right.
Well, I can remember when I signed my contract that went ziggity boom, I felt like I needed to, I skimmed over it, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm smart, I can read this, and then I kind of looked at it, but there's some language that, just with the regular eyes, we don't know what we're looking at. But, what is it that you think keeps an artist from not wanting to take the time to get legal representation or just to sign it, just sign off on it?
You got artists that's so hungry and so anxious. They focus on, I'm about to be famous, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be a star, but not knowing it's a business first. It's like entertainment is 100% business and 10% show. Right.
So that means be careful not to be thirsty. You cannot afford to be thirsty, right?
Yeah, because I'm not even gonna lie. We actually got into that situation where we got offered a contract, and come to find out it was what we really expected. We just had to back away like, no, this ain't for us.
Did you ask for an attorney to review your contract before you signed it?
Yeah, I asked for one.
But did you actually go through the process of having one look at it for your own representation?
Like, really, luckily, yes. And it was not a good contract.
So I'd like to speak to that, because there have been times when people have gone to trained attorneys, professionals who they think are advocating on their behalf, or who they think will be able to read the contract and be able to deconstruct the language in the contract, only to discover later that this person either wasn't a professional or didn't know how to read that particular type of contract. So every contract that you sign is different, right? I think you can agree with that.
Yes,
and so you need to make sure, again, that you are reading the contract for the divorce. First, I want to stress that. And second, you want to make sure that you don't just read the contract, but that you understand fully all of the terms in the contract. Because there's legal language that can arise that can get you into a lot of trouble on the other side of the contract. And typically what happens is it causes problems in terms of money. Right? So when parties separate at the end of their contract, what typically happens is, let's say it's the two of you. You say, hey, rapper, I want the money that you owe me. And you say, hey, producer, I want the money that you owe me. And now you have two parties who are locked into a battle.
Clashing.
They're clashing, exactly. And so the clearer the contract, the better the terms are, the more favorable the terms are, the more trustworthy the contract is for both parties, right? The better off you are at the end of the contract.
Now, Robin brought up a good point. So when it comes to finding the right representation, like how do people find the representation? Because you can go to someone and maybe their specialty isn't contracts, or so how do you think a person should go about finding the right representation?
So there's a couple of different ways. The first is you are always welcome to call the Bar Association in whatever state you happen to be in or city you happen to be in, and you can request that they make a referral. Typically the way that works is if you call the Bar Association's number, they'll say, we can't give you a specific name, but we can give you a series of names, and then you can make some phone calls. Ask to see a copy of, or even if it's going in to sit down with them, ask to see a copy of their work or some example of the work that they've done. You can even ask if they can refer you to one of their clients so that you can get a reference to see some of the work that they've done in the past. And then the other thing is you have to trust your gut instinct.
Yes, intuition.
Intuition makes a huge difference. So if it doesn't sound right, it probably isn't right.
And that's why I had grown to actually learn as well. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right.
Right. And our bodies will tell us when it doesn't feel right. I can remember just getting a queasy feeling, or I can just remember just getting just an uncomfortable feeling when I was about to sign that contract and I didn't listen to it. But another resource that you can look into is every state has a legal aid, a free legal aid, and you can call down to legal aid and ask them if they can refer you. You can ask them first, do they read contracts, and if not, can they refer you to an attorney that specializes in contracts?
So I want to caution you just a little bit, because sometimes legal aid has financial restrictions, and so you want to make sure that you ask them first if you fit within the criteria of the types of services that they provide.
Right, and they will go over that with you, because I was able to get representation that way, and everything turned out good. The attorney got me out of the situation, and I was blessed because he did it pro bono.
Right.
Like, that was a real blessing for me.
And for those not familiar, pro bono, there's a certain number of hours that attorneys have to give away for free every year, and those hours are called pro bono hours. They're hours that they give away for free, meaning that they don't bill or charge their clients for their time.
Right. And and I just want to reiterate on the eagerness to get that contract signed. Because if a person wants you, or if they want your business or your service or your talent, they are going to wait for you to get that contract looked at,
Mhm.
right?
Right. Mhm.
And if you're being rushed, then you might want to just consider and listen to your intuition if this is good for you.
Right, because a situation that's rushed, it's not going to get done properly.
Right.
It's like good things come to those who wait,
Mhm.
who are on time, and knows exactly the process that needs to be done.
Right. Well, I want you to stay tuned into the Beautiful Hour. So when we come back, we'll provide you with some more good information. Thank you. Thanks for staying tuned into the Beautiful Hour. We're talking about contracts. We're here with Debra Gipson and Reezy from the Cleveland's Own Rap Group, CGS. Now, it's a little game that I like to play. It's called Two Truths and a Lie. You know, when it comes to getting representation, people have their own reasons for not getting representation, or they have their own reasons for just signing the contract out of eagerness. So now, one is that it's very expensive. One reason it could be that, well, you have to save up money for your representation just in case, you know, something that happens, or if you are entering into an agreement, you want to make sure you have set aside a little fee for attorney. And then that the courts favors the person who did not write the agreement.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so those statements were two truths and a lie. So Reezy, which one do you think is the lie?
I think the one that's a lie that it's very expensive for the representation.
Yes, so you hear that, like, it doesn't always have to be expensive, you know, but you do, before you even start your process with the agreement, you want to have researched someone who may be able to assist you. You agree?
I do. I think that's really important. And I also think, too, that you should, again, do your homework and make sure that you research, and make sure that you're working with someone that you like, someone who you think can advocate strongly on your behalf, someone who pays attention to what your needs are, who's responsive to your telephone calls, right? So if you're my client, you don't want to call me 500 times and then I'm never available, right? So you want to make sure that that person is responsive to you, that they're returning your phone calls, and that they take the time to sit down to review questions that you have. Now, again, they might not be able to do it if you're calling or texting every 5 minutes, but they certainly should set aside some time to be able to talk to you about the contract.
That's why to me it would be important for you to write all your questions down at one time before you even seek the legal representation. So this way you can just get it out right in the beginning, and that gives them time to go back and do their homework to be able to provide you with the right information in order to assist you with the contract. And
to that point, don't be afraid to ask questions. It's your right to ask questions. That contract may bind you for 2 years, meaning that you're obligated under that contract for 1, 2, maybe 5 years at a time. You want to make sure that you get all of those questions answered. Do not be afraid to ask.
And you don't want to feel like you just signed a contract with the devil.
At all.
Right, so Reezy, I mean, there are some important things to you know, being in a rap group. Like, what's important in your contract for you and your group?
It's like, you know what I'm saying, with us, I mean, everybody gets their fair share. Right,
so financially fair share.
Yeah.
What about rights? Because you have rights.
Because, like, we are songwriters, so, like, when it come to songwriting credits, I get my rights.
Yes.
My brother, he gets rights. And our younger brother, he's our producer.
Okay.
He gets his rights because he arranged and he produced the track. So he gets his rights as a producer.
Right. I mean, that's important. You want credit for what you've done.
Yeah.
And then also, you know, when it comes to talking to people and, you know, you have certain ideas and creativity that, and this is part of a confidentiality clause, right? Because you don't want to give something away to them, and then they turn around and use your idea. So I think confidentiality.
I actually think that you're exactly right. I think actually, if you came to me and said, "Hey, I have this great idea, and there's this company, perhaps his company even that wants to work with me. What should I do?" The first thing that I would tell you to do is to get a confidentiality agreement signed, right. Even if it means you have to pay a little bit extra in order to get that confidentiality agreement, because what it does is it protects your interest in this idea, so that if the person leaves you and decides, "Hey, I'm going to sign this other artist over here, and this artist has an idea that sounds pretty similar,
right.
That's not exactly like yours, but I think I can get them much cheaper than I can get you,"
right.
Your rights are at least protected, because you can track what it serves as is a tracking mechanism for you to be able to protect when you actually sit down with this person and talk to this person about your idea.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. I think another point in the even the Compton story. I'm bad. So the Compton story and the TLC, like some of them, there was disagreements within the groups, right?
Yes.
Because I remember with NWA when they were like coming at Ice Cube real hard because he left, he wasn't in agreement because I guess he figured out he wasn't getting all his money.
Right, and plus it's crazy because Ice Cube wrote those songs for Easy, and Ice Cube was like, "Where's my money? Where's
right.
my fair share?" And there's a scene with Jerry Heller and Ice Cube. Everybody signed except Cube, and coming terms, the money is his, and it's wow.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of understanding where your money is also going to.
Right, and then, but even the communication between everybody in the group.
To your point, I've always said that I can determine what the parties' relationship is by simply reading the contract. So I once worked for a Fortune 500 company, and their contract with one of their suppliers was easily 150 pages. That told me something about the relationship between these parties. It said something about how much trust or lack of trust that there was between those two parties.
That is a lot of pages.
Yes.
Oh my
yes.
God.
Yes.
And plus, knowing that in this business, people can also go behind your back and do a little bit of this and do a little bit of that.
So again, make sure that if you hire a professional, don't be afraid to go and get another professional to track that original professional's work. Sometimes you have to check on people to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. You check on your kids at night to make sure that they're asleep soundly and safely in their bed.
Right.
Make sure you check on them. That's right, that's right.
Right, so we really hope that this has been informational to you about these contracts. There's so many different reasons why you may not, or why you may seek for representation, but just make sure that it's what you need and not based upon like how you feel. And then make sure that you go by your intuition when you're sitting down or just dealing with the person that you're talking to, because sometimes you sit down and you feel this energy from this person and it's not good energy. So you may not want to get involved, period. Well, thanks so much for joining us for the BeYoutiful Hour, and we wish you much love, peace, success on all your business endeavors and your careers. Thanks so much for staying tuned in to the BeYoutiful Hour.
Thank you.